so the next bread that we're going to make is the Caton 3-seed. Now this bread has very, very strong kind of French traditions. We use French flour, light rye flour, we use a Poolish to leaven the bread. So yeah, it's one of my favourite breads, like I say about most of them, but this one used to be very, very popular. So, to start with, we do, the night before, we start our Poolish. So for that, we just need to do 137.5 grams of water. Okay. Then we want 0.3 grams of yeast. And a Poolish is the same as a Bega, but the difference being with a Poolish, you can only use equal quantities of flour and water. So we've done 175.5 grams of water, so it's going to be the same with flour. Now if you don't whisk it, you will end up with one little knobble right in the middle the next day, which is where all your yeast is. And it won't be a fair representation of the recipe. So that is why we do it. So next up, zero that. And we're gonna do, same again, 137.5 grams of flour. And then using a dough scraper or our hands with the claw technique, we'll just now give this a stir to combine. Now we'll just cover that with cling film in a moment and leave that in the same place, level, don't move it. If they move, they have a tendency to, collapse and lose their structure. They don't really work, so I have tried before transporting one in the car to another baking venue, but it didn't work, so there you go. But moving on, the 3 seeds next. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to soak these in water and salt. This is called a soaker. You can do something similar with flour as well to ferment it and soften it up a little bit. But what we're going to get out of these is, yes, they're going to get softened up, but also the salt that we're going to put in is going to draw out loads of flavour and make these taste absolutely amazing and make the bread taste absolutely amazing too. So we want 55 grams of each one. So we've got sunflower seeds, and now we've got poppy seeds, black poppy seeds, and then lastly sunflower seeds. Sorry, and lastly sesame seeds. And we're looking at 6.6 grams. So I'm going to weigh the water separately just in case. So that's 110 grams. Okay, and then I'm going to give a mix with my hands. Be tempted to use that whisk, but it's going to have yeast in it. And I don't know what's going to happen if I react the yeast with the seeds. We could start some early kind of fermentation going on there. And just to avoid any risk, just do it like this. We do want to have a good mix though, so that the salt is evenly dispersed. So we've got one little bad boy over here, and that's going to be our Poolish. That's going to give our dough loads of strength and loads of flavour and loads of texture. And then we've got on this side, we've got our soaker, our seed soaker, which in the morning is going to be, it's going to lose its moisture. It's just going to be like a damp thing of seeds, salty seeds, which is going to go into our mix. Now, when we put the salt in tomorrow and when we put the water in tomorrow, we then take out a bit of the salt because we've already put some in. So we won't put in 2%, I think it's 2.1% salt. if we're already putting in 1% of the flour in this part, then we take out 1% in the next, so we only put in 1.1%. If you're not sure about that, don't worry exactly, because we will go over Baker's formula and in another lesson. So all we do now, bit of cling film, leave these about 12-14 hours. When that's ripe, we'll be able to get on with it tomorrow. Okay, so it's the morning after, and the Poolish now is looking really, really good. So see if we can see there, if we can see the detail, the contouring in there in the surface. That is ready to go. So, I've already weighed the flour. We have T55, it's 467 grams and a half. I know it's an odd amount, but that's what the Baker's formula. 82.5 now of light rye flour. I really like combining different types of flour. I really think the combination just brings out different flavours and makes bread so much more interesting. So the yeast, 1.1 grams. You probably could get away with doing this recipe without yeast. Instead of the Poolish, by the way, you could do a rye sourdough or a sourdough. Just replace the volume with your sourdough. Salt, 4.95, which you might think, oh, that's not much, but if you remember in the last video, we added the salt to our seed soaker, which we'll have a look at in a moment. Then the water, is 275 grams of water. So, before we put this in the bowl, take a look at this now. So these are the seeds, and you can see now there isn't any water really at all. Slight little, but you really pour it, there's a tiny little bit there. But basically, the seeds have soaked in 90% of that water. So now we have this damp seed mix, which is salted. These seeds are moistened and they're going to be amazing. Now, if you don't soak the seeds, what happens is that they will draw in moisture and your bread will dry out very quickly after it's baked, during the baking process. So actually this means that we're going to get the best quality loaf. So always soak your seeds. Okay, let's put this all in the mixer. So a bit of water in there, that'll just help loosen the Poolish from the bowl. Okay, that can go first. Go in there. Next up, the flour. Okay, done. Next, the seeds. So we'll try and pour as much of this in as we can in. And then, using our water, we're going to use this to clean the bowl. This on, and we'll mix slowly for about 8 minutes. So after our slow mix time, our dough has got really strong. It's a really nice dough, that. So now we're going to increase the time to fast and mix for 6 minutes. So we're 6 minutes in but I'm just going to give it an extra couple of minutes, so it's going to be 8 minutes long. I can really start seeing that the dough is developing a really strong gluten matrix. So I want to exaggerate that. You can hear this dough starting to slap on the outside of the bowl. And look how clean it's coming away from the bowl. That'll just stop it sticking on the edges. Give a little stir around the outside so the flour coats the bottom. Okay, that's absolutely fine. So what we'll do now is we will put a tea towel over the top of it and leave it for an hour before doing a fold, and then we'll repeat the process again an hour later. But let's just take a temperature reading and see where we are. 22.4 degrees. So 21, 22 is where we want our bread to be ideally. So what we would do is the next mix that we make, we would drop the temperature down a little bit more by maybe adding more cooler water or maybe a bit of ice to the water to just drop that temperature down just a little bit. And that'll really help give us more consistency in our proving time and the quality of our dough. Okay, so we're ready for our fold on our 3-seeded bread. I've lightly dusted flour on the table. Scrape that out, the bowl is clean, it's looking like a really good dough. And so we're just going to pull forwards and over, that way, forwards and over, that way, forwards. We'll do one more at the end, shall we? Like that. Okay, into the bowl, cover again, leave it for another hour. So 1 hour fold, 1 hour, and then we'll get ready to mould it. Okay, so an hour on, and our dough now is going to be ready to be divided into two. So to do this, we're going to get our scales, put it on tare. We should make 2 equal sized dough pieces. 660. Normally we make these at about 650, so 660, that's fine. 693, a bit too much. 670. Almost 670. Cool. So we've got 2 dough pieces there. Next, we just do a standard mould, pre-shaped mould, just to put it into a circle. Towards, and just cupping with our hands towards each. Nice firm dough, that's nice and easy to mould. So I'll leave those 2 there, we'll leave it to rest for 10 minutes while we prepare the table. So at this stage we're now going to final mode our Caton 3 seeds into our bannetons. Now we're gonna wrap seeds around it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna shape it, we're gonna dip it in water, that's just cold water, and then we're gonna roll it in the seeds and then place in here. We don't really need much flour, if any flour, in these bannetons because the seeds will act as that barrier. Okay, so I've put a tiny bit in there, but even that's probably not necessary. Okay, so first of all we have our clean table. Now, after handling our dough a few times, I'm pretty confident that it doesn't really need any extra flour. It is relatively not too sticky, especially on the outside. So, let's take this over here so you can see. So, flatten our dough out, and then in like that, in at the sides, in, like that. There we go. So we've got a seam at the top there. So now we're going to take our water here, wrap it in it on the sides, take our seed mix, Okay, and then that then goes, we get our basket, and that then goes face down, like that. Okay, so we do our second one. Okay, so take our dough, flatten it out, that's the wrong side, flatten it out, and fold. That's the best way to show you. Do it towards the camera this time. So we've done our first fold over, our second fold it on the edge, little tuck in there. It's not necessary, you can go for a different effect if you wanted to. Go in like this, go in like that, like that. Yeah, so if you wanted a bit more tapered ends, you could give it a bit more tapered ends if you wanted to. That's that. Next, we take our dough, dunk it in the water, around the sides, and into the seeds. And pop them in there, like so. Beautiful. So we've got two there ready, one slightly pointed at the sides, that one's slightly not pointed at the sides, and now we're going to leave these to prove. Now I think this will take around an hour and a half, but we'll check on it in an hour and see how they're getting on. Okay, after we've waited, it's about 2 hours, now happy with the breads. So we're going to get our peel, it's got a little bit of flour in there, flour residue really, and then we're just going to tip our basket over the top. There's one, and there's the other. Now I'm just going to leave a bit of a gap. If they're too close, when they go in the oven they're going to end up joining together. So now we're going to make our cuts. This one, we can do it how we like, you know. We could do one straight through the middle if you want, and that's probably the easiest one. For this one, I'm going to do one at an angle, so the blade is going to be at an angle, like this, and I'm going to make the cut just to this side, so like that. If you don't think you get it quite tight enough, you can always go back. It's not ideal, but there you go. Now with this one, I'm going to go all the way around the outside. So right here, down here, like that. Get right in there. So I made quite a deep cut there. That is going to split as it bakes, okay? Nice amount of steam in there. Okay, that's good. So we're going to leave this to bake. We'll drop the temperature down to 230. It's kept that temperature quite nicely. Yeah, and so we should bake, probably take about 35 to 40 minutes. So we'll crank it up to 230. After about half an hour, we'll check it, maybe flip it around the other way, and look to perhaps drop the temperature if it looks like it's catching near the top. Here we have our lovely breads. So that was 30 minutes. We gave them a turn, did another 7 minutes on the other side. Beautiful. In which they'll stay for a couple of hours till they're cool enough, unless anyone gets there first. Which one's your favourite? I quite like both, really. This one's quite cool, kind of reminds me of a haircut. And then this one here is a bit more contemporary, but still bloody delicious, I'm sure. So yeah, I hope you try this one. It's really, really enjoyable. And give us a comment below, let me know what you think.